Empowered Parents Group. Welcome, Elizabeth. You're a very common face in our group. I know that. I know you've been you have put out content, and I know that our group is well aware of you and well aware of what you do. But we would love to hear a little bit about you, what you do, and our topic today is on clearing blocks around to be that amazing parent. And it's such a close to home topic. It's what we do at Empowered Parenting. We dive into, so our events are called Parenting from Your Higher Self, which is all about clearing blocks, isn't it? So what's stopping us from being in our higher self is those limiting beliefs about ourselves, is accepting ourselves for who we are, the parents that we are today, looking at the patterns that we've picked up from the way we were parented, finding that compassion towards our parents for the great and sometimes not so great job that they have done, and forgiving ourselves too in our unconsciousness, what we might be putting onto our kids and the projection that we were talking about just before. So it's an amazing topic, and blocks are a big one on that parent's journey of claiming back their power. The only power we ever claim back is the power over our own self. So I'd love to hear your perspective, share a little bit about you, your family, your parenting journey. Take it away, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Yolanda. And I really love talking about being a parent. And thank you so much for having me on, because I do enjoy your group, and I know that you've got some really strong connections in there. You're on a mission, right? So for those that I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name's Elizabeth Eleanor, and I want to just preface, please excuse the cat meowing in the background for some reason. She's just decided that now's the time, right? Life is life.
She wants to be a part of your life.
Yeah. So I am, my business is Elizabeth Eleanor, the Spiritual Warrior. And I work with to support women that are passionate and purpose-driven in their life, so that they can access that part of themselves that they often haven't accessed before, so that they can create, limitless success in all areas of their life, including parenting. And so I'm a parent of two beautiful children. They're now adults. My daughter is married, so I've got 3 kids now. So my daughter's married to a beautiful man. No grandkids yet. Looking forward to that though. And they're all adults and doing their own thing. So I'm moving into that next phase, where I'm spending a lot of time out in community and supporting others with the wisdom that I've experienced. So single mum from when they were about 2 and 3 years old. Had a really rocky road with their father, and a really challenging life with my mother and my parents, myself. So my mum had a lot of trauma and a lot of mental health issues, actually, from being brought up and raised by very limited religious parents, and she didn't know how to parent. And my dad was sick on a kidney machine, and so he was in that place of not being able to support the family. So he was sick, and my mum had to create her own business and support the family. So my brother,
been a lot for your mum as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't see that because mum was never at home. She was neglectful of me in one way and very protective of me in another way, where I wasn't allowed to do anything. So I had to stay at home and look after the family at a very young age. And so my dad, who was supposed to be there to show my brothers how to be strong men, wasn't. And my mother, who was supposed to show me how to be a woman and function in the world as a woman, wasn't there either. And so, very dysfunctional family. And of course, those things get inherited within your own system, and start, coming through in different behaviors and beliefs within your own parenting, right? So just to go back a little bit, one of the things that I do is I support women to shift out of those limitations by a process called recoding, which is clearing the resistance from an energetic point of view, but it's physically releases those blocks that are within our very cells, like within our genetics, within our own belief systems, in our subconscious patterns. So it's a relative. You're on mute, huh?
Yeah. So this is energy work you're talking about.
Yeah, but it's based in science. It's not as woo-woo as it may sound.
Yeah. Can you explain that? Yeah.
Yeah, so it works with quantum physics and epigenetics as two of the main processes. Epigenetics is the study of genes. So
I know Deepak Chopra talks about epigenetics a fair amount. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have discovered over the last 20 odd years that it's not just that we inherit disease in our body, a physical condition, but we can, now they're proving that we have trauma that can be from our generational history. So from our parents, our grandparents, and so on and so forth. There's an ongoing,
because the genes can store that, isn't it? Genes store that information, and we can undo that by choosing a new pathway and choosing a new thought patterns and we rewrite our genes. Yeah.
Yes. So and I've got a really simple, easy, effective way of doing that with the recoding, because sometimes you can be aware of a pattern but you can't see the way out of it, like you're doing something and
it helps to have someone else to see it and identify the pattern and recode it like you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So so they've discovered, for example, that Holocaust survivors, their generations past, like two generations past, great family life, healthy, no reason to have traumas in their life, suffering from major anxiety, PTSD, and things like confined spaces or loud noises and things like that. And they've discovered that it's because it's been genetically passed on.
Holocaust.
Yeah. So so there's just so much within us that's sort of not ours, right? It's sort of like this stuff, this weight that we can take off with a big coat, like a big coat, and say, oh my gosh, this is actually who I am underneath all of these limitations and beliefs and emotions and stuff that's been created for me before I was conscious of it.
Yeah, brilliant. Lovely. So how do we tie that up into parenting, and how can parents benefit from clearing their blocks?
So the first thing is acceptance, and knowing that parenting is a process. Parenting is a process, and it's something, you grow as a parent as your children grow as children, right?
Yeah.
And
we say evolve. So, parenting is ever evolving.
Absolutely. And not to beat yourself up that you're not doing it perfectly, because as soon as you try and be perfect with your parenting, you're causing, challenges and limitations on your children just from the perfect model, right?
Just from, yeah, the need to be perfect comes from,
Yeah.
and comes from a subconscious belief that I'm not good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to parenting, we can look back at the way we were parented and go, okay, in that process of what was my mother and father's relationship with health and with finances, and their relationship with each other, and their relationship with the community and serving others, and career or business. Were they business owners? Were they 9 to 5 work for the man? Were they workers instead? All of these things that, and also you've got to remember the culture on top of that, and then the generation that they were, and what was going on in society as well. So all of these things that we have then had programmed into us of, this is the way we behave as a person to survive, right? And so then we have children, and we can go either way. We can go, I'm going to parent exactly the same, or even have no realization that that's what you're doing. Or you can go, hey, I really didn't like that, and so I'm going to parent exactly the opposite to what my parents did.
Yeah. However, I do want to mention that a lot of parents come to me with exactly those. Yolanda, I heard my mom in my voice as I was yelling at my child, and that is what I have vowed never to be. That's because we are resisting it.
Yes.
So what we resist persists. And like you mentioned before, we haven't come to a point of acceptance. We need to accept how we were parented, who we've become as a result, and from that space, choose a new way of being. By awareness, it's key. Would that be fair to say, Elizabeth?
Absolutely. And just to give you, like a more detailed understanding of that, when we're being parented, especially from 0 to 3, and definitely up to 7, but beyond that as well, we're in a brainwave frequency that is the same frequency as when someone's been hypnotized. So there's no rational thinking. Everything that's coming in as stimuli,
we have accepted.
We are accepting it. Our subconscious is being formed, and it's saying yes, yes, yes to everything. So that includes how to smile. That's why you and I speak English. I don't know if you speak any other language, but if you were born in a family that spoke Chinese, then your mouth would function differently, pronounce things differently to someone that speaks English. We are absorbing how to live here as a human being, how to walk, how to talk, how to hold a fork, blah, 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 all of these things, right? And we're watching how to behave. So if your mother's stressed out, overwhelmed, in a relationship that she's not feeling is loving, there's no equality, she's being submissive, whatever it might be, and taking it out on her kids because that's the program she was taught, then those things have been programmed into us before we can actually consciously rationalize, actually that's not the way to behave.
Yeah. Exactly.
So then those subconscious patterns, and now our subconscious, the way it behaves is it lives in the past, and it's every single memory you've ever had. It's like a storage unit.
That's right.
So it says yes to everything. And so our subconscious doesn't want to change. That's how it functions. Well, we're living in our subconscious 95% of the time because our conscious is actually quite lazy. So our conscious that wants to change its patterns, wants to grow, wants to be an amazing parent, and has these aspirations, it wants to change, but our subconscious is not, no, this is
Hasn't really,
the
yeah,
behavior.
because our subconscious mind is what runs 95% of our actions and our behaviors. That's right.
Yeah. So if you're not consciously deciding this is the way I choose to behave, then telling your subconscious this is the way it is now and it's safe to be this way, then you're
so
going to
subconscious reprogramming, isn't it?
Yeah. And so therefore those triggers, so when your child does something that you don't feel is accurate or for their best interest, or is annoying you in some way, whatever it might be. So something happens outside of yourself with one of your children, and it somehow triggers these old patterns. Then next thing you know, the subconscious has taken over. You're going off at your child for whatever reason, and you shouldn't be doing it, but you can't help yourself.
It's overtaken.
Like right. You're overtaken.
That's right. So, yeah. I'd love to put it out to the parents who are watching. Can you relate to this feeling like you're overtaken, like you've suddenly given away control of the way you're acting, the tone of your voice, the words you're using, and I'd love to hear. Put it in the comment section. Tell us if you've had moments of this being taken over by these subconscious patterns that you don't have control over until you start making conscious choices to deliberately reprogram or go in there and nip each of those weeds, like so we call all of those, pluck out those weeds in the garden, because they don't serve the journey or serve the parent that you consciously intend to be. So I'd love to hear from you. Tell us where you're joining us from as well. And if you're listening to a replay, do put #replay. We'd love to answer your questions even at a later stage.
So can I just also mention that one of the things that I teach my clients, and I don't just work with parents, but I do, that comes up, is we live in a world where we're problem solving everything, where we're living in our, default, that subconscious patterning, right? And we go back to that unless we consciously choose differently. So when you are, if you're on this group, then you have made the decision that you would like to do something different to what you're currently experiencing, right? So you're being proactive in your parenting abilities,
choices,
right?
and experiences.
Choices. So I'd like to put to your community, how would you choose to experience yourself as a parent? What is it that you really want to see as a parent in your life? Like what aspirations have you got for yourself? Not so much for your children, because we can often think, I want my kids to be successful and loved and honored and all these things, but how is it that you want to experience yourself as a parent? Because when you're experiencing yourself as the parent that is your potential, the rest is as a side effect or byproduct of that strength within you and holding that, what I call the desired end result.
That's right. Yep.
And so this is about forward focusing, because we tend to look into the past, and the whole world is, we're problem solving the whole world on a regular, like you watch the news, everything's problems, right? And this is what we're trying to do to solve it.
Yeah. And so we're creating problems as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, because you think of the collective, of the subconscious collective that's constantly looking back in history. This is what we've done before. This is how it's behaved. We've behaved, and blah blah blah. If we, what I teach is Hermetic principles that are 5,000-year-old principles. So it's ancient wisdom moving in with the science of, real cutting edge science of epigenetics and quantum physics, and really seeing how to focus. When we focus on what it is we choose to create and actually be the creator in our life, I choose to be an amazing, supportive, loving, connected parent. What does that feel like in my body? What are the examples that I can see? So when you're out there in the environment, you see an amazing interaction with a child and a parent. Oh, yes, that's me. I see that. I feel that, what that feels like in my body. This is what I choose. I'm choosing that, because we often don't choose our life. We just decide from what's happening outside of ourselves.
So consciously choosing the experience. We call it on our program the parenting create the parenting experience for the family that you desire. So it's creating the experience first within yourself, and then observing the reality match to what you're creating.
Because when you're going, this is what I choose, and you're bringing it into your now, what would that parent do right now?
Right. So match the vibration of the parent you want to be.
So brilliant. The parent that I'm becoming, what would that parent do right now? And one of the things that's really important to remember, like I've got a great relationship with my kids, just like you have with your children, like very much there's a friendship and a love and a connection. However, they do know, don't stuff with mum. They know my boundaries. They know that the lioness comes out if I'm disrespected. They know, because of the way I've brought them up, they know that we're not just equal and friends. I'm the hierarchy in the community. I'm the lioness, and they're my cubs, regardless of how old they are. And
they need that. They need that. Kids need that. That is so important for the stability, to feel safe, to feel protected and cared for, and supported.
It's a natural. You look at nature. Nature has that natural hierarchy. There's an order to it.
That's right.
So when we go into some of these parenting models that are around these days that can loosen those boundaries, it causes in our reptilian mind to feel those children feel unsafe. They don't feel like they're being protected. They don't know where their own boundaries are, because they haven't been given space to find
and also them. To highlight that a lot of parents who are doing that today are doing that thinking that that's the right thing to do. They want their kids to have a free mind. They want their kids to they don't want to say no to their kids, and that's you need to say no. You need to create those boundaries, and you need to create that sense of security around them.
Well, they also because when they're seeing that you've got your own strong boundaries, I think I've said this before in your group, and I'll say it again because it's quite powerful. You look at I've spoken about the three powers before: power, powerless, and empowerment. And so power and powerless actually are when you're in, they give and take from each other, and they need each other to survive. But when you're in, so at any given time, you can feel powerless to your child, because if you haven't given boundaries strong, this is my circle, and shown the example of this, I'm a powerful woman, and I'm, oh, man, whatever, mum and dad, because I know you've got both in here. This is my circle, and I'm here, and this is my strength. That makes a child feel safe. And so they then have the container to show themselves, okay, now I can create my circle of safety, my boundary, my empowered space.
That's right.
I can have a container of my own. So, I often give the example of the lioness. So she's there with a couple of cubs, and they're, frolicking and enjoying, and they're biting her tail, and she's just relaxing, biting her tail, and she's okay, biting her tail, she's okay. And then they bite her tail, and she's not okay anymore, right? And so at that moment, she turns around and she'll swipe at her kids. You've crossed the line. This is my boundary. I'm annoyed. Get out of my space. Now, because of the way those cubs have been parented, they don't think any less of themselves. They don't feel unloved. They just know that they overtook, they crossed mum's boundary. Oops, I better, back off out of respect. Now, in that time, in that moment, that lioness doesn't then ground them, take the PlayStation off them, whinge and complain to her lioness friends that her little, her kids are little brats. None of that. That lioness goes, you've crossed the line, back off. They go into, and then she just enjoys being in the sun again, because she's already created the boundaries within her. They know. My children, when they were growing up, I just had to, in fact, I just had to raise my voice a little bit, and they would back down. In fact, it was a few years now. It was a couple of years ago. I think it was before COVID, actually. I remember an interaction with my son and I. We were out for dinner, and there was the three of us, and my son said something. I can't remember what it was. And I remember I just, like, there was a movement. I didn't like it, and I sort of, I felt myself. And he picked up on it, and he went, "Oh, sorry, Mum, shouldn't have said that."
So just the body language, and our kids know when they cross the line. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My kids are like that too. We're very friendly. We've got a great connection, but they know when they have that's it. That's the limit. I am in the hierarchy. I am that respect. That's there, and that's okay to have that. A lot of parents can feel that confusion of do they need to justify that, or do they need to go now and make it up because their child was sad because they set a boundary. That's the chaos we talk about, that we create in our homes, and that chaos comes from within. Your outside
they don't
world
know what the boundaries are. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, and the parents have created that because they don't know their own boundaries.
Yeah,
so coming back into alignment with that is the first step.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is too that it always comes to what can I do, where am I coming from, and who do I choose to be in this moment. And one thing that's really, really important for us to remember is that human beings are evolving. Like, we're not going to get it right. Like, we are human, and that's part of being human, is the imperfection of it. So whatever your blueprint is with parenting and all of those aspects of who you are going to change that blueprint from your parents. And as you were saying, and most probably still create dysfunctional children, right? Because in their own way, because as we go, I was restricted as a child, so I'm going to bring freedom to my children. Those children go, oh, I've got too much freedom and I don't, like I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
So that's creating even more or a different set of issues in their life compared to what you had in your life.
So parenting is an evolving journey, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So breathe in, relax, know that you're not going to get it right, and know that you can have, but you've got a choice to do your best.
And do the work, do the inner work, come back to yourself. A lot of parents that I come across are focused on getting the children right. And I say to them, and many are not ready, and that's not their journey, that's all right. But they're not ready to hear the work that we can do within ourselves. And I love to use the word magic. And, I have parents come to me and say, Yolanda, this is magic. All I did was this work within me. I did nothing with my child, but their behavior has changed. And that's the magic I invite you to see, because we really have no control over our kids, but we have control over ourselves. We have control over our emotions. We have control over the way we think, like you mentioned. We have control over creating that experience in our mind, tapping into the feeling, what that feels like, and from that space, creating this new reality and the family experience that we know we deserve.
And the reason that happens is because you're tapping into the quantum field. And so as you change within internally, that changes the frequency of who you are, which radiates out and ripples.
I love that word, quantum field. I'm going to use that one now.
And that's the way it works, right?
That's right. That's right. Brilliant. Well, we have gone over time, but we have enjoyed the wealth of information that you have brought to us, Elizabeth. Would you like to share with us a little bit about an event that's coming up, or somewhere you want or somehow that our parents can get in touch with you?
So if you'd like to get in contact with me, I can give you the link.
Just
Yolanda,
put it in the text box.
In
the comment section of this live.
Call. I'm Elizabeth Eleanor with an unusual Eleanor spelling. It's on my birth certificate. ELENOR. And I've got, as you've tagged in your group here, Women of Light Movement Facebook group. But I actually have an event coming up tomorrow night, actually. It's called Limitless Wealth. And it's all about, the real stages and steps of how to change your vibration and clear those codes that are holding you back in all areas, from relationship, health, wealth, your career, the whole thing. So parenting definitely comes in to that, because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if you'd like the link for that, I'll
put it in the comment section. Just put it in the comment section of this slide. Wonderful.
Yeah, awesome. And I will just share that I was just telling Yolanda, I just had some great news just before I jumped on only a couple of days ago. I got an email to say I'm a finalist in the Oz Mumpreneur Awards for online education. We wish you all the best. Yes. Thank you.
When is the award happening, Elizabeth?
The actual award nomination, there'll be, I think it's the end, the 1st of September, actually. Yeah.
All right. We'll be vouching for you.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Brilliant.
It's been lovely to chat with you.
Yes, it has. Thank you so much for joining us on the Empowered Parents Group.
Take care.